In this video, we are recapping the historic tornado outbreak of December 10th. Then we have to talk about this next big storm that will cut through the central U.S., bringing severe weather and snow. After that, a look into the medium-range forecast models reveals something very interesting you're not gonna want to miss. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. The December 10th tornado outbreak was the deadliest December tornado outbreak in modern history. A wall of nocturnal tornadoes marched through the mid-Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, producing widespread catastrophic damage. From Arkansas into Missouri, Indiana, Illinois, Tennessee, and Kentucky, countless homes and businesses were damaged or destroyed, and numerous lives were taken as these monster storms raced to the northeast. One of these storms in particular will be forever remembered as the Quad State tornado, as it is possible this monster was on the ground for an astonishing 250 miles from Arkansas all the way into Kentucky. This would beat the current record by 30 miles, which was set in 1925 by the infamous Tri-State tornado, which happened in a remarkably similar location. The hardest hit area was almost certainly western Kentucky, specifically the towns of Mayfield and Dawson Springs and everywhere else in between. Just a preliminary look at the horrific videos and photos that are coming out of these towns tells me that this will likely be rated as an EF5, making it the first EF5 tornado this country has seen in nearly 9 years. As of right now, we still don't know the extent of the damage or the total number of dead, as people are still missing and first responders are in a continuous search and rescue effort. I provided live emergency coverage of the event here on this channel for over 11 hours, trying my best to get the word out to as many people as possible, and I sincerely thank everyone who tuned in, everyone who shared the stream, and I thank you for putting your trust in me that night. If you are one of the many generous people who submitted a super chat donation during the stream, a portion of your contribution is going straight towards the victims in western Kentucky. I have a link to the organization I donated to in the description below if you want to contribute on your own. Now, as hard as it is to move on from this event, and I know a lot of us are still processing what happened, more storms are coming, and I've said it once and I'll say it a million times. Mother Nature does not let up, and that means that neither will I, as we continue to talk about the weather. All right, here's a big old look at the historic storm, or what's left of it, as it exits the United States to the north and east. I know we had some rain and some gusty winds over here in the northeast last night. Thankfully, the worst of the storm is over, but we do have some cold air coming down behind it, so it's gonna get a little chilly. Now, if we go over here to the west, you can see this massive amount of moisture that's streaming in from the Pacific Ocean into California, into the Pacific Northwest. For a lot of people, it's just been a damp and wet morning, and that's just gonna continue to be the case as we continue to go forward. So let's start tracking that on the weather models. All right, we're gonna start over here on the west coast, looking at the NAM 3-kilometer model simulated radar. This is what it could look like over the next couple hours. If you want to keep up with the date and time, it's going to be listed there above my head, but remember, that's in Eastern time because that's where I'm from. Okay, so around 1 p.m. today, we're still going to see those snow showers in the higher elevations and rain showers down in the valleys from Washington into Oregon, and especially on the coast of California there, running into the Sierra Nevadas. This is going to be a massive amount of precipitation that's falling over here. Please prepare for it. If you live in a mudslide prone area, if you live in a flood prone area, an avalanche prone area, I mean, like, it's just going to be a big storm over here as a river of moisture comes into California from the Pacific Ocean. Now let's run this forward a little bit, and you can see that deluge of moisture just doesn't stop as we go all the way into noon tomorrow. Once again, especially in California, we're focused a little bit on central and northern California here. The rain's going to be falling in the Central Valley and on the west coast, and the snow's going to be falling up in the mountains, but also we do expect some rain down here in Southern California as well. Okay, so you guys are definitely going to be feeling the impacts of this, especially once this big push of moisture around 8 p.m. on Monday, December 13th starts to eject down to the south and east a little bit. So here we go, once again, all the way into 5 a.m. on Tuesday, December 14th. Now we've got that rain working into the SoCal area. Still, though, the trajectory leads it right into the mountains, and once that moisture hits the mountains, you better bet your bottom dollar it's going to be snowing hard. Up here in the mountains, we are going to see an incredible amount of snow. Some people could see over 100 inches of snow during this storm. It sounds crazy, and it is, but welcome to the weather in today's world, okay? It's crazy. Let's take a look at those snow totals, and once again, someone in the mountains over here in California might see over 100 inches of snow. We're going to see some big-time snows up here in the Pacific Northwest, too, on the mountains up there. Look out, Idaho, okay? Especially in the higher elevations of the Rocky Mountains there in central Idaho, we do expect well over 3 feet of snow in some places And this is a big storm. There's a lot of moisture involved. So even as you head down the mountain a little bit, some of the snow totals are going to be pretty significant. And then of course, where it doesn't snow, it rains. And once again, the west coast over here is just going to get battered by a bunch of moisture. Some places could see 2 or 3 inches of rain. Some places could see 4 or 5 inches of rain. And once again, and even in the Central Valley of California there, we are looking at the potential for a good amount of rain as we go all the way through Tuesday. Notice how the precipitation cuts off as you get past the Rocky Mountains. The mountains literally are squeezing all of the moisture out before it gets over here, but a big system's going to come through and try to disrupt that. Once again, this moisture moving out of the way here is going to be good news for the fact that it's given the West Coast a break, but it's bad news because this is our next big storm. All right, switching over to the entire country view now, and we are looking at the Euro model so we can go a little bit further into the future. We're going to go back in time a little bit so I can show you what's happening in the rest of the country while the West is getting just pounded with rain and snow. So let's push this forward a little bit, and here we are all the way on Tuesday, 1 p.m., and look what's happening. Of course, we got all of our moisture and rain and snow over here on the West, and then we have this big ridge forming in the central portion of the U.S., and that is allowing warm air advection to take place all the way up into the Great Lakes region, and then eventually maybe up here into the Mid-Atlantic and the lower areas of New England as well. But you do have this zonal flow from Canada that's going to keep you pretty cold comparatively, at least to the rest of the U.S. Okay, this warm air is going to make it all the way up here close to central Canada. I talked about this days ago, how this is going to feel like a December heat wave as it moves across the central U.S. Temperature anomalies here look off the charts. I mean, look at this. Wednesday, December 15th at 7 p.m. The entire state of Iowa is likely going to be experiencing temperatures 35 to 40 degrees above average. It's not very often that you see temperature anomalies like this. It doesn't matter what time of year it is, but especially in December, seeing a positive temperature anomaly off the charts. Literally, look, the chart down here only goes up to 35. We're maxed out for a lot of the Midwest here. So it's going to feel like a warm spring day for a lot of people on Wednesday, December 15th. That's going to be felt all the way down here in the deep south as well. Of course, the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley is going to feel that. There's some cold air damming going on behind the Appalachian Mountains for South Carolina and North Carolina. So you guys are going to be around normal. Of course, up here in Maine, you guys have got that zonal flow going on. So you guys are just cold. But look at this. That warm air goes all the way up into Canada, way up into Canada. And it's just going to be a wild experience. Of course, every action has to have an equal and opposite reaction in the weather world. And this is what I'm talking about with our next big storm that's coming through. It's going to pull that warm air even further north and bring down a little shot of cold air behind it. And let's track that now. So here we are on Wednesday, December 15th at 10 a.m. We got a big snowstorm going on for a lot of the Rocky Mountains here. That low pressure system is going to come into the northern plains around 7 p.m. on Wednesday, December 15th. And this is a big storm, okay? If this comes to fruition, a 979 millibar low pressure system out there is going to cause some big changes in the weather. Once again, it's responsible for a lot of that warm air coming up into this region, and it is bringing down a lot of cold air too. Surface wind gusts up here in Nebraska are going to be near hurricane force as that low pressure system is winding up here, okay? So even though it's not going to be like really rainy or snowy or anything like that, you're still going to get those massive winds coming through. And then, of course, we have to watch the progression here. And as it goes off to the north and east, we do see some snow forming on the top end. There's going to be blizzard conditions up here in South Dakota and North Dakota and northwestern portions of Minnesota. Of course, that warm front is going to extend some showers and some isolated thunderstorms all the way up into the Great Lakes regions. But what concerns me is the southern side, okay? You see these little appendages coming off the low pressure system there. That is where we maybe could see some severe weather. So let's talk about that briefly. So first of all, let's take a look at that 500 millibar trough ejection as it comes off to the north and east. Wednesday at 10 p.m., we have a small but very noticeable trough with a negatively tilted axis coming through the northern plains. Okay, so that sets up the stage for warm air to crash into that cold air right there where they meet. We could see some thunderstorms. And of course, we also have to look at the 850 millibar winds. We call this the lower level jet stream. And there's a lot of it out there again. It's actually unbelievable. We have two systems back to back like this that have such incredible upper air dynamics, okay? If this were happening in April, May, or June or something like that, the bells would be ringing, okay? This is a bad looking setup, okay? We got a lot of tornado juice on the southeastern side, but our saving grace this time may be the fact that it is December and the ample amounts of moisture that's needed for a big tornado outbreak may not be able to make it that far north. Here's a look at dew points, okay? And we do get a big influx of Gulf moisture all the way up into the Great Lakes and Central Plains region, but it is on the weaker side, okay? We have dew points in the 60s and the upper 50s up here in Iowa and portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin. But remember, the other day with the big historic tornado outbreak, we had deep moisture, okay, in the upper 60s. And those dew points have to be pretty high before you get widespread, long track, violent tornadoes, okay? But with all that being said, I don't want you guys to let your guard down. Please subscribe to this channel. Keep up with me here. Every day we're going to learn more about what's going to happen, and I'm going to keep you updated. We are going to see some sort of storm system, some sort of severe weather, and tornadoes definitely could be a part of that. So please be weather aware and stick with me here as we continue to forecast it. And of course, that cold air is going to crash down into the Great Lakes region in the northeast, but it doesn't budge our ridge down here in the south, okay? It's going to stay warm and juicy down here in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama for a while. Here's a better look at where those storms could pop up on the instantaneous flash rate here on the Euro. You can see we have a line of storms possibly around 10 p.m. on Wednesday, moving through Minnesota, Wisconsin, and of course down into Iowa and Missouri. Thankfully, right now, this looks to me a little bit more like a damaging wind problem than a tornado problem, but you guys in Iowa know that damaging wind can be just as bad sometimes. So we're not going to let our guard down, and we're going to keep an eye on it, okay? But I showed you how that cold air is going to come down, but it doesn't budge our moist air down here. That's going to cause a little bit of a problem as we now have a boundary of warm air and cold air that's going to set up right here, and it's not going to move much. And that may lead to a period of time where we have thunderstorms going over the same areas over and over again. So we can watch that take place here. You can see that cold front tries to come down into the central portion of the U.S., tries to form a line of storms that goes down into the southeast and then kind of sweep out of here, but that doesn't happen because we have that big insurgence of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico that tries to come back up on the backside, and it kind of balances this area out, okay? And these are going to be thunderstorms with heavy rain filled with Gulf moisture going over the same areas over and over again. Saturday, December 18th, 7 a.m. We're still talking about heavy rain possibly from northeastern Texas all the way through Arkansas into Tennessee, Kentucky. Some of the hardest hit places from the tornado outbreak may be dealing with an insurgence of flash flooding problems as we go into the weekend or the latter part of the week. And then a little cold burst of air may cause some heavy snow up here in Maine, but for the most part, it's just rain showers and just normal stuff for the East Coast as we go all the way out until Sunday, December 19th. Now, here's where things get a little crazy, okay? All right, here we go. Monday, December 20th. Something magical could be happening in the atmosphere out here. First of all, another big trough ejection comes through, and this time it's bringing the cold air with it, okay? We got cold air coming all the way down into Texas. Additionally, all that moisture that's been building up down here in the Gulf of Mexico is going to be attached to that like a magnet. And of course, that motion there is going to lead to cyclogenesis, and we are going to get a low pressure system forming out here, possibly on the East Coast there near, the shores of North Carolina. What this means, what this could possibly mean, is that we see a classic nor'easter, okay? 1 p.m. Monday, December 20th, we have heavy snow in the Ohio Valley all the way down into middle Tennessee. We got heavy rain through a lot of the Carolinas down into Florida. We could be seeing some thunderstorms. Of course, once that low pressure system gains access to the Atlantic moisture and kind of rides the coast there, we see it kind of really intensify into a major snowstorm, as now we are seeing that snow falling in western PA all the way up through western and upstate New York. At this point, the snow would be extremely heavy. Once again, we're talking about major impacts from this potential snowstorm. Now, as we go all the way out into 1 a.m. on Tuesday, December 21st, this is a blizzard now, okay? 982 millibar low pressure system, surface wind gusts well over 35 miles an hour, and it's snowing heavily through a lot of New York, Pennsylvania, all the way up into Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. And then we're going to, of course, track that all the way out. And this is still a blizzard, by the way. Maine, 963 millibar low pressure system causing a major blizzard up there. And that is, of course, the fantasy snowstorm that the Euro is currently showing. If this were to happen, it would be from December 20th through, later in the day on the 21st. So, this is another one that we have to watch. And of course, this is a good signal if you like snow. Basically, all this tells us is that something's going to happen on the eastern part of the United States during this time frame. Exactly what it is and does it look exactly like this? More than likely not. Okay, so don't think that I'm telling you that we're going to get a bunch of snow right before Christmas, because I'm not. All right, we just have to keep watching it. We have to keep looking at the trends and the patterns, and eventually we'll figure something out. And of course, just for fun, we're going to take a look at that fantasy snowfall map here. this is how much snow could fall. All right. We got a couple inches all the way down into, once again, portions of middle Tennessee. It gets a little bit more significant up here into Ohio, where northeastern portions could see 6 inches or more. Northern Pennsylvania gets clobbered with 10 inches of snow. Basically, every part of New York except for Long Island and the Manhattan area gets clobbered with snow. 17 inches there around Buffalo. Close to 2 feet of snow from Vermont, New Hampshire up into Maine. Now, unfortunately, this would be one of those storms that hugs the coast in such a way that there's a little bubble of warm air that keeps the snow from affecting the coastal cities. And I say unfortunately because I'm a fan of snow, and I know a lot of you guys are too. We got a lot of weather weenies in here. It's not Snowtown, baby, just yet in New York and the coastal cities out here. But like I said, this is going to change. This is all conjecture. We're just looking at it for fun right now, but stay tuned because, I mean, it could happen. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Once again, thank you to everybody that was a part of the live stream. Thank you, Vince Welty, our storm chaser. Thank you, Brandon Kopic. Thank you. Like, we were able to do a lot. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that without you liking the videos, subscribing, and all that stuff. So thank you so much. Now I got to go. I'm probably going to take tomorrow off, but I will see you right after that on the next video. I'll see you then. Goodbye.